Lenoir City Board of Education meeting to order for January 15th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Tammy Powell. Here. Rick Chadwick is absent. Mitch Ledbetter.
Here.
Lacey Murray.
Here.
Chris Claybo.
Here. I'd like to ask that we all stand for a moment of silence followed by the pledge, and I'd ask Ms. Murray if she could lead us in the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5, hear a motion we approve the agenda.
Motion we approve agenda.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we'd like to open the floor for any citizens or anybody that would like to speak on anything or any items that pertain to the agenda that are on the agenda. There be none. Item number 6, approval of minutes from December 11th, 2025 regular board meeting. Hear a motion we approve.
Motion we approve the minutes, Rick.
Motion by Mr. Ledbetter,
Second.
second by Ms. Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7, executive committee. There be no discussion. Hear a motion we pay our bills.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Murray,
Second.
second by Mr. Ledbetter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 8, facility study. Ms. Aaron with MBI.
I think while we're getting set up, I would just provide context, and I think we've talked about this quite a bit in several meetings, but one of the things we felt strongly about, I did, and the board felt strongly about, was really looking at all of our property that Lenoir City Schools has and start together a very coherent plan for addressing our needs and wants with the facilities that we have in the district. So updating where needed, adding things as needed, and this study will give us a great anchor, we believe, to help us budget for capital projects and other needs that we have in the district. So this is something that we've been working on for many months. MBI has worked on this, had their team in our district looking at all of our properties, taking feedback from all of the folks in the district about things that we want to get accomplished over time. This is a project that is informing our work over time. So when our board each year goes into retreat and starts planning the budget and looking at our capital projects budget along with our general purpose budget, helping us be very informed about the best use of our space and our budget so that we have a coherent plan moving forward. So that's going to help us now, but it's going to help the district in the future as folks come through and understand the plan that we have for our facilities. So with that, MBI is here to share with us this preliminary plan with costs associated with it. And as we all know, our school board is preparing for a retreat February 26th, and we'll be talking about, lots of things in terms of going into our budget season, and this is one piece of information that we'll have to take with us into that retreat. So Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, so this is an updated copy of the master plan. We have been working on this for several months. Our engineering team, as well as our architecture team and some members of our construction team, have visited all of the properties across the district to take a look at the existing conditions. We wanted to make sure that we were evaluating what condition all of the schools and this facility were in, and then be able to talk to the administrators about long-term planning. What challenges do each of the schools face now? And then also take a look at forecasting what schools will need coming up. What do we think the enrollment is gonna look like? What do we think technology is gonna look like? What do we think athletics is missing or needing to be able to compete, both on an academic level, but also athletic level with the surrounding school districts, to make Lenoir City Schools the best system that it possibly can be. One thing that's not in this one is the expansion to the middle school, because that design is finished and it has been priced. So we know a lot of information about that middle school expansion plan. And so that's not in here. I can go ahead and incorporate that with the board retreat information. And then there is also a very, very, very detailed engineering packet that I did not include in the slideshow that I will put in the retreat package as well. It's just a lot of words and a lot of information that your maintenance team will want and need as you go about kind of the maintenance and capital projects. For each one of the facilities, it has recommendations for all of your MEP systems. So I'll go ahead and get started. The way that we broke up this presentation is we looked at each one of the facilities independently, and then we list out recommendations. So we're going to start with the central office. We're going to start with this building. Then we're going to move on to the elementary school, the intermediate, middle school, and then the high school. And then kind of talk about next steps. We have gone through some preliminary pricing exercises just to give you an idea of order of magnitude. Whenever you decide to go into one of these projects, you would go through a full cost estimate for each one of these projects, because depending on when you decide to execute the project and what all you decided to include in the scope of that project, that order of magnitude would get adjusted. But this is just to give you a ballpark estimate on what something like that might cost, so that you can prioritize and decide what order you want to accomplish these things. So when we got started on this project, we wanted to make sure that we set a clear vision on what your system wanted to accomplish. So we wanted to make sure that we aligned with the mission, and looking at the future of Lenoir City Schools and what we can accomplish for the students and the staff. We wanted to make sure that we were considering all the opportunities and making sure that whatever the final plan is, everybody's aware of what that final plan is, and so that all decisions moving forward can be made with that whole plan in mind, so that you don't put a building expansion in the way of something that you wanted to do, and now you've kind of landlocked yourself not being able to do that. And so talking to key stakeholders, talking about potential challenges. I know one of the things that we talked about are we have some big utilities at the high school that we really can't move, and so working around some of those things to make sure we're really making very well-informed decisions as we're looking at this master plan. And as we looked at the current assessment of the building, we looked at the infrastructure, we looked at technology, we looked at safety, we looked at ADA accessibility, not just the condition of the building. So we're looking at a lot of different things as we're evaluating all of these buildings. And then we collected all of these results and developed the concept plans that I'm going to present to you today. We did present these previously to the administrative staff, and I believe you've seen all of these plans previously. We gathered feedback and made adjustments previously to the long-term vision, and then we applied pricing, and that's what we've been doing since last time you guys have seen this. So central office, this building. When we looked at this building, it's overall in good shape. It's had renovations done to it over the years. The roof is in good condition. We do have some maintenance projects that we are recommending. There's a little bit of staining of some ceiling tile. That's a super easy maintenance fix. The restroom exhaust fans aren't working properly, so we're recommending fixing that. The rooftop equipment is nearing end of life. It is functioning just fine now. It's well maintained, but just kind of keeping that in the back of your mind that it is nearing the end of its life and it is going to have to be replaced. That's coming up. And then we noticed that there's some fire alarm and egress lighting upgrades that are necessary, and so we would recommend doing a full evaluation. That means to get somebody in here to test the fire alarm and test all of the egress lighting, to test all of your life safety lighting, and do any necessary upgrades. We don't know the full scope of that, so we kind of threw a number out there. If you had to add some egress lighting and add some emergency lighting, what that might look like, as well as to get somebody in here to test all of that. There's also some opportunities for some small renovation projects, nothing particularly major. You do not have any accessible restrooms, so we would recommend addressing that at some point to upgrade the restrooms to be accessible. There's a administrative planning room that's used a lot by the school staff. And so getting some new furniture that's more conducive to the planning activities in that room would make those planning activities more effective and easier on that team. And then there's the existing bank teller line downstairs that's kind of hamstringing the use of that space. We would recommend pulling that out in preparation for some capital improvement projects. The first capital improvement project is to take one side of the first floor and build out some offices. So this would require the bank teller line to be removed. That would be step number one, and then to build out these offices. This project, the biggest benefit of this project is these offices currently are in a small building that is on the intermediate middle school property. That building has its own set of maintenance challenges, and it is better to bring that staff into this building rather than do the upgrades that are required to that facility. That facility, the second floor, it's kind of structurally, it's not structurally strong enough to really occupy up there, and then it needs a full HVAC upgrade. And so to sink money into that building, to have staff at a completely separate campus doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes much more sense to consolidate that staff to this facility. You have the space to build out these offices that would accommodate them. And so that's one capital project recommendation that we're recommending, is to bring them here, spend the money here, rather than upgrading that building. That would also, in the future, allow you to clear way over at the intermediate and middle school to do more of the activities at that school that the actual school facility needs, that right now that building's in the way for. At this building, there's also the iLearn Institute. Right now, they're out in the open. They come here and they have their activities here. So what we wanted to do was to create a space for these students that is theirs. So the elementary school, those students have the elementary school. The middle and intermediate school have those students have that school. Same for the high school. The iLearn students, they don't have a space that's their own. They're kind of sitting out in the middle of the lobby, and they don't have really anywhere to display their work and kind of contain the noise. So what we are recommending is to do some renovations on the opposite side from where we're recommending the office. So on the side with the reception desk, makes a lot of sense because the reception desk is there, and it's manned, so parents and students coming in and out would have access to that personnel, and the restrooms are on that side. So it makes a lot of sense to put those occupants on that side of this floor. So this is a concept that we've put together. So enclosing that area, you would still leave an open path to those restrooms because the occupants on the whole floor will need access to those restrooms. But enclosing an area for them to have their desks and have their chairs. And then outside of that space, that would give them the opportunity to pin up work. So if they had artwork, or if they had, you could do a digital display board. So if they had, I know we talked about some of the STEM activities and some of the programming, they might do a video, or they might have a video game that they've created, allowing them to run the video of that program that they've created. You could also do displaying the history of Lenoir City Schools or of Lenoir City. So giving the iLearn an identity and a space for these students to display what they've been able to accomplish. That was the goal behind that. Before we move away from this building, does anybody have any questions about either the offices on one side, or the iLearn Institute? Yeah? Okay, good. Awesome. Moving on to the elementary school. So this is a precious little school. It is so precious, and it is in very good shape. It's overall in great shape. It's well maintained. It is clean. So the maintenance projects here and the small renovation projects here, they are very small. So what we're recommending, there are several door hardwares that aren't ADA compliant. They're knobs instead of levers. Getting those switched out. Several of the teachers have installed fabric over their lights because they think that they're too bright. They are LED lights, so that's a really simple change out of the switch to make them dimmable, because LED lights are dimmable out of the box. And then there, you can see in the lower left corner, there's been some very creative ways of supporting the wall-hung sinks. It looked like at one point they had trouble with those wall-hung sinks, maybe sagging or children sitting on them. And so they got very, very creative with the way they solved that problem. So what we would recommend, replacing that and upgrading those sinks. And then the small renovation projects, this school has the same problem that this building has. There's no ADA accessible requirement or restrooms. So upgrading the restrooms, particularly in that front lobby, to ADA accessible. This school also does not have a secure vestibule. That's become a really big thing in schools across the country. And so upgrading that front lobby to include a secure vestibule would be a pretty high priority, and there are grants out there that can help with that. And then the special education classroom, the people that gave us the tour, they talked a lot about the challenges in that special education classroom, particularly in the restrooms and the changing facilities. And so really taking a deep look at the restrooms and changing facilities in that special education, those special education classrooms, and really addressing what the teachers are going through in order to take care of those children would be a good idea. The millwork throughout the facility, I am so impressed. It is in really great shape. It is just very dated. It's very well maintained. It is not chipped. It is in very, very good shape. I've never seen anything like it. It's in really great shape. But it is very dated, and that's a comment that has come up, is that it's just dated. And so looking at replacing that millwork to be something more modern. The teachers have gotten very creative about the way they utilize that millwork, about adding wall shelves for storage to maximize that. And so pulling out that older millwork and going in with something that's more modern and contemporary that has optimized storage solutions would be an opportunity for a renovation project. So that's the existing millwork. An example of it is in the top left. So it's just a little dated. Okay. The biggest challenge that this particular school has is we're gonna call it a multi-purpose room. It's not really a gymnasium, it's kind of a gymnasium, but it's very, very small. They can't really host a whole school performance. They have challenges with doing PE activities, and this room is not expandable due to the structural nature of the way it's built. You can't expand it. And so that is why we are recommending kind of addressing that gymnasium as the big project on this particular campus, is to do a new gymnasium here. This room would be repurposed. You could look at reimagining this room in a lot of different ways. You could leave it the way it is and use it as a multi-purpose room. It does have a stage, so you could use it as a performance room. We've also looked at splitting it up and adding more classrooms or storage rooms. And so there's a lot of different opportunities for this very nice large room. It's just, it does create some challenges for the PE and performance at the elementary school. So this is a concept for the gymnasium. So what we're proposing on this plan is on the front side of the building to do a gym addition. We looked at a lot of different locations of where we could put this gymnasium, and this was the best location. This accomplishes a couple of different things. It would isolate the bus drop-off from the car drop-off. And then we would use this opportunity to give the school a new front door. And so the school right now has a pre-manufactured canopy as its identity and front door and kind of face. And so we would use this opportunity to give it a more grand look. So it would have more branding opportunities so that as you approach the school, you would see the name of the school. It would have a true secure vestibule, a little bit more glass so that you could actually see the entrance rather than just looking at pre-manufactured canopies. Because of the structural system, it would need to be separated from the existing building, but that also creates the opportunity to have a small courtyard. And we talked to the administration about this courtyard could be used as an incentive for maybe honor students or good behavior or any different number of things that the teachers and administrators wanted to use as something for the children. So it's a protected outside space that they could use as outdoor dining or just any number of things because it is directly off the cafeteria. In this plan, it also shows taking that multi-purpose room and splitting it up into some smaller rooms, adding some classrooms and some storage rooms, and then a hallway directly outside to the playground that's inside that courtyard on the other side of that multi-purpose room. This would be a bigger investment because it is a gymnasium. It would also give you the opportunity to have a deeper, bigger stage so that they could do a performance. They could, the band could have a performance. You would be able to actually have a whole school assembly in this facility. And if you did a play, you could fit all of the parents. So right now they talked about having to split up having assemblies as well as having performances because they can't fit all of the parents inside, and then they can't fit all of the students on the stage, and so they have to be very careful about how they run activities. So this would solve all of those problems. Any questions about the elementary school?
What about additional parking? We had talked multiple times about there not being enough parking. And
So
if we put that there, we're actually taking parking away. No.
Well, right now there is a very large circular drive. And so what this does is it takes the very large circular drive and makes it a oval. And so it doesn't lose that much parking around that circle drive because it has very similar amounts of pavement. It's just in a different shape. there was a lot of discussions about trying to keep people from parking and driving on that circle drive, particularly during the school day, because the existing pre-manufactured canopy has some damage to it, and it's because people park right there and the buses are trying to get around the cars, and then they end up hitting the canopy trying to dodge the cars. And so we were trying very hard to separate buses and cars. We are not affecting the private vehicle parking lot at all. This would just address the bus loop.
And we still also have land to the side of the elementary school that could be
Correct.
utilized for parking, that we could make
Yeah.
into a parking area.
On the inside of the gym, does it have bleacher seating, or is it just open?
Typically in an elementary school, if you have bleachers, it would be very minimal, but most elementary schools don't have bleacher seating. You could add some bleacher seating. We'd make it a little bit wider so that you could keep them out of the baseline. But most of the time in the elementary schools, we see they might, if you have them, they would have 2 to 3 rows so that they could seat the students there if they have them at all. But it would be something, as this project got started and we were looking at scoping and programming, we would talk about bleacher needs.
I think we also, at this point too, regarding the parking, we're, hoping that third grade would be moving over to the intermediate site, which would remove a whole grade level, which would also help with the parking situation as well.
Correct. This was assuming that third grade was moving over to the intermediate school, so this was gonna be pre-K through 2. And so that gymnasium was kind of programmed to only go up to second grade.
So, out of curiosity, does that change anything?
The fact that third grade is still there, it might, we would address it, if we proceeded with that gym project, we would address that at that time. And so any one of these projects, if you choose to proceed with the project, we would do a programming exercise where we would sit down with the administrative team and talk about, okay, what are we putting in here? How much storage do we need? What functions do we actually want to accomplish inside this building? With the gymnasium, how many basketball goals do we want? What kind of storage are we talking for equipment? What kind of flooring do we want? We would have all of those conversations at that point. So this is just very, very high level concept, more blocking, and to throw an idea out there so that we can get a ballpark of a price, just so that, is this a $4 million project or is this a $10 million project, so that you have an idea of what you're dealing with and can make an educated decision. Okay, at the intermediate and middle school, like I said before, the expansion to the intermediate middle school, we did a lot of programming and evaluation. Yes. Over a year ago, we spent months and months and months on the intermediate middle school. And so that's not included in here because those plans are complete. And that pricing has been done. And we know what that plan is and what that pricing is. So this addresses some other needs on that property, and looks at the track complex. And so we've had a lot of discussions about this track complex in particular. The fact that the high school track team uses this facility as well as the middle school. We wanted to give the high school track team a facility that is equal to what the other high school athletic teams have, because you have beautiful, amazing athletic facilities at the high school. And then there's the track is not up to the same standards. And so what can we do at this track complex to make it to the same standards so that those high school track and field students feel like they have equal facilities? We did look at, is it possible to move the track to the high school? We looked at a lot of different options to move that track. It is not possible. We looked at a lot of different places on that campus to put it, and it doesn't fit. The one and only place that it would fit is where the softball field is now. So it just doesn't fit. So we took the approach on let's address the track complex where it is, let's upgrade it, and let's make it something that's really nice.
Just to interrupt, because I think this is a great place to acknowledge that. This is why we want to have a master plan, because, we want to move the softball field to the high school. We do that. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And we didn't really have a full coherent plan about, we also have track. We also have tennis courts, which we'll talk about, things that we need. And so this plan is not something that's set in stone saying, this is what we're going to do next year. This is all about, we have a master plan. So the board is able to make good decisions when we do have money in the budget, and when we do want to address a need, we can go to this master plan and say, okay, this is where this fits. We can do this year, and that's not going to mess up anything else that we think we might have the money to do down the road. So just to make that clear, and I think it's a good point to say that, is like, not saying that we wouldn't have put the softball field there, but when that decision was being made, we would understand how everything all fits together. And so when the board prioritizes each year, and the board does do a 5-year plan every year, and they revisit that every year during budget season, this master plan gives them a very educated, comprehensive idea about what to address and how to prioritize, what immediate needs we have, et cetera. So I think this is a good place to just reiterate why we're doing this, and just to clear up any confusion. I don't want anybody to think, this is what we're saying we're going to do. It's saying we want to make sure that we're very transparent, that we're very thoughtful, that we are spending time really thinking about how to use all of the property we have to meet the needs of our students. And so I think this is a good point, a time in this presentation to reiterate that again and make sure that we're all clear on that, because then when it comes time to, we do have this in the budget, we do think we want to address this, then we go back to this plan and say, okay, we want to focus on this project. That's when we then would say, okay, what's our current situation? What can we afford to do? What are the needs? And we would go from there with the programming. So,
Correct.
and also a good time to acknowledge and reiterate that we did work on that middle school expansion project for about 18 months. So
Yes.
at least. So that wasn't something we just dreamt up overnight. So, okay, moving on. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, but thank you.
We do have a concept rendering. So one thing that we looked at with the track complex, for those of you that are familiar with it, right now you park at the intermediate and middle school. We did look at an option, and it was discussed, flipping the main entrance to the other side of the track so that you didn't feel like you were coming to the intermediate and middle school when you were coming to the track complex. Trying to separate, mentally separate that high school track from the intermediate middle school. It doesn't fit. One, it doesn't fit. There's not enough ability to park over there, but two, the road improvements that would have to happen on those roads to be able to make space for that kind of traffic is not feasible. So we took the approach to stay with the existing entrance placement where it is, and just upgrade it to make it to the same level of standard that the football facility is. And so this is a concept rendering of what we were thinking. So something, right now there is a lovely gate with the logo. And so what we're proposing is to do a similar gate, but to create a more grand entrance. So to have brick and stone pilasters with a canopy denoting an entrance that will give that entrance more weight, more visual weight, and you could even build in a ticket booth or something of that nature to this facility. We didn't at this time. We didn't really feel like it was necessary. We felt like really concentrating on a substantial entrance would be sufficient. And so that's what you're seeing in the background of this concept is to do, right now there is some pre-manufactured bleachers with a press box. It's just a purchased unit. And so we would replace that with something that is site-built, something that is more substantial, that is masonry, that would have a built-in press box. You could build in a concession stand into that facility as well, and restrooms into that facility as well on the backside, so that those bleacher stands and press box have the same look and feel and substance that the football stadium is. Not as big, not as grand, because you don't need it at this facility, but similar finishes, similar materials, so that the aesthetics go together and you start to understand them as being part of the same system. Okay, on to the high school. So the high school is another facility that's in great shape. I will compliment you guys on your facilities. In very great shape, very well taken care of, very nice finishes, classrooms are in good shape. There were a few things that we noticed as we walked through the property. I've attached a few pictures here. There were some emergency lighting and fire alarm issues that we noticed as we walked through. When we did our evaluation, it was right at the start of school and they were handing out iPads, and so testing that fire alarm and cutting the power to test the egress lighting was not an option. We would recommend doing that just to make sure that you have the proper coverage of all of those systems. We put a dollar figure in here if you had to add egress lighting or pull stations, or they found deficiencies of any sort. We put a dollar figure in here for that. Outside in the original building, so this building's been expanded onto a couple of times, but on the original building, the white pilasters and cap, those are structural concrete. And there are in a couple of places where that concrete framing system is what we call spalling. So the concrete is starting to break down a little bit. It is not a structural issue right now. It is perfectly structural stable. If it is not addressed, it will become structurally a problem. And so we would recommend going in and identifying all of the areas that this is happening. We noticed them at about 4 spots that we've located, but we would recommend going in and identifying every single location and addressing that. It's a pretty easy fix that you go in and you clean off the concrete that's failing and you replace it. And so it's a pretty easy fix now when it's not a structural problem, before it becomes a structural problem. And then there's a few window screens that probably balls have been thrown, or kids running around that have been damaged. So getting those windows fixed. So a few maintenance projects, but nothing particularly major. We proposed a few small renovation projects. We had several discussions about these renovation projects. These would be really fun projects for the students, for PTA, for boosters, lots of opportunities on this campus, a lot of opportunities on this campus for small renovation projects, for opportunities for senior class gifts or anything of that sort. So we've made a list of all of those. So if you have a PTA that's looking for something to do, or you have a senior class that's looking for a project, or you have a donor that's looking to donate something lovely to the school and want to put their name on it, we have a list of all of those projects that you could say, hey, we know exactly where you can spend your money. And so some of those renovation projects would be to reimagine the courtyard. So there's this lovely courtyard in between two of the wings that's really underutilized. Right now it's got some chickens, and
Oh, it's
then
gone.
They're gone.
they're
They're
gone.
gone.
Chickens are gone.
Chickens
Okay.
are gone after sorry.
Chickens are gone. And then there's a small building there. There's a lot of opportunity to get students out into that space and provide them some outdoor space, outdoor picnic tables, an outdoor classroom. And you could do this in pieces and parts with the students could do it. We talked about maybe the art class or the building construction CTE class. It would be good projects for those. And so we talked about they are looking for those type of projects. They just need to know, what to do. They need somebody to say what to do. So we have a list of those projects. So when the teachers are saying, well, we're looking for something to do this semester, we have a list of those projects, and this courtyard would be a great opportunity for those teachers to go in there and start having projects with those students. So we've put a dollar figure in here, but really, if you're utilizing the CTE classes, the art classes, then that dollar figure could be anywhere. We also thought it would be a fun idea to paint the baseball field fencing. So there's just some basic metal panel fencing in the outfield of the baseball field against the parking lot. And so we thought it would be a fun activity for the art students, or just something to liven up and make it look nice, is to paint that, do a mural. We have a concept sketch here, as well as in the lower left we have an existing condition. So it's just a basic metal fencing. So nothing particularly special, but adding in a mural of some sort we thought would just add a little something nice to this facility, and it would be a good project for the art students. So we put some money in there for paint because it's a very, very big fence. So we put some money in there for paint, and then came up with a concept. But obviously, I would recommend letting the art students envision what they would do.
I love that. It's one of my favorite things.
Capital project recommendations. So these are the bigger projects. So these would be ones that would not utilize CTE classes or art classes. These would be things that the board would need to address. We took a big, long look at all the athletics. So when we looked at the high school facility, you have amazing facilities. Academically, it seemed on par with all the surrounding schools. There wasn't a lot of need. But there was a lot of need from the athletic side to be competitive with surrounding school districts. And so that's what we spent most of our time on at the high school. So this is just a snapshot on what the plan includes. So looking at tennis courts, because you do not have on-site tennis courts, how and where those would fit. Right now, because of where the tennis courts would go, right now the football and the marching band are using a field that we would be putting the tennis courts on, so we would need to replace their field. And then potentially looking at an auxiliary gym, because right now there's only one gym, so there's some scheduling challenges between all of the basketball and wrestling, as well as when games and tournaments are happening, there's some scheduling challenges only having one gym. The football facilities are split between two buildings, so part of their facilities are in one building up by the football field, and part of their facilities are in the stadium building. Both facilities are lovely, but it would be nice to consolidate them into one spot so that all of the football needs are in one building and they're going to one spot. And then looking at the existing baseball building and upgrading some things in that baseball building. And then the landscape islands are an opportunity for donors, but it's really to dress up the overall facility. So you could put these anywhere and they could be really of any size, but it's to add some shade, add some greenery, add some seating for people that are coming to the games to be able, maybe you have a couple of games going on at once and you've got people that are coming in and they just want to have a seat before they go into the stadium. You could do little seat walls. And then the softball fielding that is currently underway, choosing the location. That's why this master plan is really important. We've looked at a couple of different locations to put this softball building as part of this exercise, so it's a very timely exercise because right now the softball team does not have a building like the baseball team. And so money has been allocated for that building, and so we're looking at where does it make the most sense to put that building as part of this exercise. So this is the overall plan. This has all of those parts and components in it. The existing conditions are kind of grayed out, and then all of the buildings that we looked at touching are the ones in color. And so looking at, I'll start with the gym and kind of work my way plan left. So the auxiliary gym, obviously locating that near the existing gym, it does knock out parking. And from what I understand, that's kind of priority parking. And so I think that's honor student parking. And so looking at like how do we address that parking and where do those students, where does the priority parking now become was part of the discussion that would logistically need to be worked through. The landscape islands are the little green dots that you see kind of in between the baseball field and the football stadium. Right now it's just asphalt paving, it's very hot. Those islands are sized and spaced to where an ambulance, if heaven forbid it is needed, the ambulance can drive through there. And so you can still get vehicle traffic in there so they can still drive up that road. Doesn't hinder that at all, but it does provide some shade in that area and some greenery. And then the football building, we are recommending renovating that building. There is some inefficient use of space in that building, and then an opportunity the bones of the original building are in really, really great shape. There's been some additions that we would recommend taking off those additions and redoing them. And then you could really consolidate that all into a very nice football facility with all of their weight training and their film room and the coach's office and their locker room all in one spot. And then they're not having to kind of walk between their facilities depending on what they're doing. The softball building, right now we're showing it angled over there. The latest we've talked about is kind of where the greenery is shown behind the bleachers. We are showing 6 tennis courts. That's what you need in order to run a match properly. The way that they're angled is to deal with the sun. We could straighten them up when it becomes a project. We could straighten them up. Right now, that's the way we've shown it to optimize it for the sun and for aesthetics. And then the baseball field, doing some renovations there. You have acquired a piece of property where a house used to be, and so taking over that property as well as utilizing the backside of the field up against the road to put back in the band practice field and the football practice field. We have cleared the sizes of these fields with the band director and the football coach, and so the sizes that are shown on this plan is what they said that they need for those fields. So they do utilize these fields at the same time, and so we wanted to make sure that the sizing that they needed could fit in this area.
And interestingly, Erin, you talked to us a little bit about the type of grass
Yes.
that you could put there so that those could ultimately be parking areas
Correct.
if we needed to.
So you can do what they call a stabilized soil, where when they are building those fields, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can mix gravel into the dirt, or they have another system that is more of a honeycomb plastic that you can put down before the grass goes in, and then you get a hardier breed of grass. And so the purpose of that and the benefit of that is that band and football can use it for their practice and do what they need to do whenever the season is going on. But say you have a baseball game, you have a football game, you have a soccer game, whatever is happening, all of your parking is technically on the other side of the campus, but you would be able to use that field for parking. Stabilized soil that is intended to occasionally park on it. I would not park on it every day, but to occasionally park on it for an event, for a football game, for a baseball game, for a softball game, for a tennis match, you would be able to use that field without tearing it up. As long as people aren't doing donuts on it. Don't do donuts. So this is a close up look of the tennis courts with the order of magnitude. Real simple plan. The goal here is just to bring the tennis courts back onto campus because the vocational building, it's the vocational building that took them out.
Yes, in the parking.
And parking, so the tennis team is having to play off campus. And so being able to bring those tennis courts back onto campus and host matches on campus would be of a benefit. And the coordination with the parks for scheduling is a challenge. And so allowing those tennis teams to use their own courts and not have to worry about scheduling would be very nice. And so we've sized it for 6 because that's what you need for a district match. And 6 fit.
That's what I'm most
do fit.
impressed about, is that you
6
were
fit.
able to get this much in
Yeah.
there. With-
We tried to get
To the
8,
looks
but
of it, you wouldn't
8
think
does
you
not fit, but 6 fit. This is a close-up look of the band and practice field with a little bit more information about how that would be utilized and their exact sizing. So the marching band needed 80 yards and the football team needed 60, so that's how they're sized. With the rough order of magnitude of what that might look like. The auxiliary gym, we talked about possibly having a weight room, having visitor locker rooms, or additional team locker rooms. You could put the football team over here if you didn't do upgrades to the football building. So one thing about this master plan, you have options. So we have a lot of different options in this, particularly this high school master plan. So you may decide, we don't want to spend the money on the football building, but we want to do a gym. And we would rather put the football facilities in the gym while we're building it, rather than upgrading that building. You can make that decision at that point in time. You know that there's an auxiliary gym, it's going here. You have the space to put some additional locker rooms and weight room in it, and you're gonna decide to spend your funds that way rather than spend the funds on the little building at the end zone. So once we have a master plan and we know what all of the possible options are, now you can pick and choose where your priorities are and how you're gonna spend your money. So we did size it to where you could move the football in here instead of upgrading their building. This is the football building. The bones of it are great. We did look at possibly adding another floor on it. The structure can't handle that, so you have to take it down and redo it, which is an option. We did not price that option, but it is an option. And it's in great shape. The bones of it are. The bathrooms are too small, but there is also a lot of space that is underutilized that you could upgrade the bathrooms and move the locker rooms in here. The locker rooms that are in the stadium are larger than what they need, and so for the locker count that the football coach said that he needed, those would fit over here. And so the weight room is in great shape. It's got a lot of really amazing equipment in there. And so leaving that where it is would be nice. He also has really awesome film room with turf and these great seats. So it's just the bathrooms need a little bit of help, and there's some underutilized space. Like you can see in his film room, about 2/3 of that room is empty. And so his film room only takes up 2/3 of that room. And so that's the space that we were planning to recapture for the locker room. This is also a great spot to put the football because during games, this is their locker room. So they can go straight from their locker rooms onto the field, then at halftime, back into their locker rooms for coaching, and then right back out onto the field. So it's a great placement in terms of logistics during the game.
Just a little side note, this football building, it was looked at prior to the hiring of our new coach and having 107 players on our team. So the numbers have went up drastically. So, and of course,
We need to look
Miss
at
Harlow was completely unaware of that. So,
That would be part of the programming when that became a thing.
just a little update note on that. So there's gonna be adding chairs in that green space that is gonna fill up quick.
Yeah, that's a
Good problem.
lot more kids than what he said. That's great for him.
Great news for Lenoir
That
City.
is
Yes.
great news
Yes.
to have a much bigger football team. That's a lot more options. Baseball practice building, recommending some upgrades here. Right now, the ventilation needs to be upgraded in this building. It's a pretty easy fix with some fans and some louvers just to get some airflow in here. I wouldn't recommend heating and cooling this building, but it does need some airflow. It is very hot in this building and there is no airflow. And getting a louver and some exhaust fans would really solve that problem. The restrooms could use some upgrade, but I understand that is now underway, is upgrading those restrooms.
So is the ventilation.
Awesome, fantastic. And then the insulation, because of the batting cages, the insulation's been damaged. Balls, they get through the net, and that's just the nature of batting cages, that's gonna happen. And so we would recommend fixing that insulation. There's places in that building where there's no more roof insulation because it's all come down. And so replacing that insulation with more bat insulation. And then we would recommend putting some plywood up there just to protect it. Balls are still gonna get through the net. There's no way to stop that. But that plywood would give protection to that insulation, and if the plywood gets damaged, you take the plywood down and put a new sheet of plywood up, but it would protect the insulation and prevent that from happening again. And all of those projects can be done independently, so, it sounds like 2 of them are already underway, so that's great. These are some concept sketches last of the landscape islands, just some ideas and thoughts about what they might look like. So having some seat walls, some trees, and then low plantings, boulders possibly, mainly to give shade, give a place to sit down, and to add some greenery to what right now is asphalt. You have some really, really lovely athletic facilities, and then in between is pavement, and so adding some greenery in between it would really enhance the lovely facilities that you have and start to create an athletic complex that would be equal to the facilities that you have. And these can each be done independently. They don't have to be all done at the same time. They can be any number of different sizes. That's what we have. From here, I'm going create a bound packet for your retreat. Something that's not a PowerPoint, but that will also include the engineering reports as well. So that you can read all the engineering reports and gives an overall summary of all of this. So, it will also include a lot more existing condition photos. I put a couple in here just to give a frame of reference, but we have a lot of existing conditions photos that visualize the things that we saw that are contained in those reports. Does anybody have any questions about high school or of the master plan concepts in general?
Done a great job.
Yeah, this is
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Aaron.
Lot of
Really
work.
appreciate having.
Lot of work.
Having this, yeah.
It
Because
was
it's
fun.
great.
We really had a great time. We had a great time. It was a really fun exercise.
Well, it's good too because we do, I mean, I feel good about, obviously I know our maintenance staff and they work really hard and it is awesome to know we've been good stewards of the property that we do have and our facilities are in great shape and if nothing else, that was a great outcome of this as well, is just to know that, you know, we're taking care of what we've been given to us after so long and hopefully thinking about leaving it for those that come after us in a good place too. So that's something this plan will help us be able to do very purposefully and thoughtfully. And I know that's something that's important to this board. So just really appreciate all the thought and time you spent helping us think through all of this. So
You do have facilities that are in great shape. Your maintenance and smaller renovation projects are smaller. So you guys have amazing facilities and have done a great job taking care of them. They are beautiful and well maintained. So it definitely makes the concepting of the master plan a lot more fun because you have a lot more options when it comes to how to spend your budget.
Wish we had more land.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Aaron. Item number 9, incident report. Mr. Orr.
Presentation's a strong word for this. Shouldn't take more than 45 minutes to get through it. We had new legislation that enacted this year that requires us to report to the board any incidents that happen at schools that go to the behavioral threat assessment team and then would involve law enforcement beyond just that of the SROs of the school. So we're going to meet this requirement with these. So we've had 2 incidents this year. On the 23rd of September, there was an incident at Lenoir City High School. And then on November the 20th, there was an incident at Lenoir City Intermediate Middle School that met those requirements. Obviously, due to FERPA law, we can't go into details in an open meeting, but in order to meet that requirement, we should have to report to you that we had those incidents and they've been dealt with.
Thank you.
A lot of information.
There it is.
Item number 10, comments from the director of schools.
Yes, thank you, board. I'll start out with, we mentioned Officer or Sergeant Samuels is here with us, our chief of our security SROs in Lenoir City, and he has a new addition to his staff that is at the middle school. So Sergeant, would you like to introduce?
Yes, sir. This is Giovanni Espinoza. He is taking over the middle school. He is working alongside Ms. Long and Ms. Lone, doing a great job, and can't wait to see him continue.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. I do have a couple, I think each school has one or two announcements, just super quick, because I know we've spent a lot of time today, but
January 22nd, we have attendance awards like we often do at the elementary school. February 10th, parent-teacher conferences. And then, as you all know, January 28th is our school board appreciation breakfast to show our appreciation to you all.
So, next Thursday night, at 6 o'clock, we will be holding our Scripps spelling bee with our students who have qualified in their, respective classes during the school day, and so we'll have that competition next Thursday night. STEAM night is February 26th. This is always a great turnout for our building. You know, our STEM lab is phenomenal. That's largely in part due to Mr. McCarter and his efforts, and so this is probably the largest turnout that we have each year. And so we're really excited that Susie Buckner, who's our 6th grade science teacher, has coordinated to have an inflatable planetarium there that night as well, that kids and parents will get to walk through. So looking forward to that. And then just a shout out to the high school. We had our 7th and 8th graders participated in the CTE fair this week, where high schoolers came over, presented their respective CTE class offerings before our 8th graders begin creating their high school schedules, which is a little sentimental, but we're excited.
A couple of things. Of course, it's homecoming week for us this week, basketball edition. So it's been a fun week. Spirit Week's been full force as we acclimate to the new semester. And we'll end cap that with ball game against Carter High School tomorrow night. So look forward to that, supporting those student athletes. And then I've got some information real quick just to give you all when it comes to next steps. So instead of 8th graders, as they continue on that continuum, once they get to 12th grade, we are having a college and career expo night. So we're just inviting all community businesses and organizations to come out, hopefully to be able to connect with our high school students as they make some informed decisions about their next steps, as well as focus on strengthening those community relationships and connections. So anybody that is interested, just reach out to Ms. Jacoman. But we think that would be a positive experience for our seniors.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. A few additional announcements. We do have the School Board Appreciation that we're looking forward to celebrating our awesome school board the week of January 26th. So looking forward to lots of different activities planned for that. Also during that week, you may have seen that the Loudoun County Education Foundation has just recently hired a new executive director. His name is Charles Elmore, and we are hosting a reception at the high school cafe for Mr. Elmore from 5 to 7 on January 27th. So that'll be going on. I appreciate the high school for hosting that. We also, Monday is Martin Luther King Day. It's a student holiday for our kids, but our teachers will be engaged in professional learning. So that's happening next week. Looking forward to our school board retreat. We've mentioned it, referenced it several times at Jellystone on February 26th, and that's been publicized. So looking forward to that. And then finally, just a little personal, I will take a little moment to say thank you to our school system. Thank you to our teachers, parents, our administrators, central office staff for coming to the city council meeting. As we have been publicizing for months now, and the school board, I think, approved a bond for our middle school expansion back in September. It is a project that we have spent over 3 years working on diligently for our students, and we were thankful, appreciative that city council agreed to have that on the agenda on Monday night and discuss it. Unfortunately, it did not pass city council, so we will be going back to the drawing board. Appreciate city council, appreciate the mayor, respect their decision. As a board and as the director of schools, I'm extremely disappointed because this is something that we have worked on for a long time and for years, and we know it's something to address immediate needs of the students we currently have in our elementary and middle school. So that's something that we'll go back to the drawing board at our retreat. We will look at what we can do and what we need to do and what our next steps forward will be. And I just appreciate the support of all of our folks here in Lenoir City and understanding what we're trying to do. And we have done a lot of work and a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of time was spent making sure that we were good stewards of our dollars, making sure that we were not asking for additional funding, making sure that it was not requesting any sort of additional tax money or dollars, actually utilizing money that we've saved and prioritized to meet the needs of students that we've identified previously. So it's been a long journey. It's been something that we've worked on for a really long time, and I appreciate everyone that came to the city council meeting on Monday, and I appreciate our partners at city council, and we look forward to, as a board and as a staff, working on a solution, because regardless of that outcome, the need that we have still exists, and we know that, and so we're gonna have to figure out what to do to meet that need. So that's what we're gonna do for our next steps. That's what we're gonna focus on, and look forward to a great semester and figuring out what we can do for the students at Lenoir City Intermediate School and Lenoir City Elementary School. So I just wanted to thank everybody for your support in that.
That's all you got?
That's all I've got.
Does anybody else have anything?
You don't hear what I got.
Well, I just want to be clear about one thing. Regardless of the outcome that we had Monday, this board, this school system, this administration is going to continue to move forward with the task at hand. We owe it to our students. We owe it to our school system as a whole. We're not going to look back. We're going to look forward. We're going to keep pushing forward. And each and every one of you, I want you to know that this board has your back. We're going to continue to do what's right for our people moving forward. And we've got a lot to discuss. We've got a lot on our plate to move forward in that agenda, but we're not giving up. This is just a mild stepping stone is all it is. And we're going to continue to push forward. We're not going to look back. We're going to look forward. We can't control the past, but we can control the future. And we're going to do it together. It takes every single one of us to accomplish the goals needed for our school system. So I just want you to know that forget the negative, focus on the positive, try to be optimistic about things, and let's push on. Let's keep churning. Sounds good. All right. Anybody else? We're adjourned.